I'm one of those very fortunate people that I was not second because,
Well, he said you get 50% charity is what I was going by.
oh, you may begin.
Thanks. I'll wait until it says so.
Smart man.
How you doing, Nancy?
We've
Good,
been
how are
doing
you?
this mask thing for a year now. I got out of my car and walked up here without my mask. I guess some people just never learn, do they? I mean, you know what? The truth never hurts. It may stun you a little bit, but golly, I mean, you'd think after a year, man, it just automatically. I know. Take Thomas up there, he's trying to be a constitutional scholar.
Rereading everything.
Do what?
It's been a few years since I've read it. It's 6 o'clock, it's the appointed time, so we want to call the Rules Review Committee to order. I think everyone has their microphones on, so we should be in good shape. Do we have visitors wishing to address the committee? We have 5 minutes to speak.
Let's see, my back to her, she's got a pole in her hand. That makes
I'll
it
be
turn
good.
around.
I won't tell you what I think of that remark, Vince. I can barely get along.
I'm afraid you'll hit me with it.
You need one more than that, sir. Anyway, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm getting ready to read is from Miss Elizabeth Brotherton. She had to work tonight, so I promised I would read what she had to say, and then hopefully I can have time for my comments, if you please. Thank you for not making a snare remark the last time I had trouble getting to it that I got out of the commissioners, so thank you. I appreciate it. I thank you for your time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy that the committee was formed and hope that the committee can bring some needed changes to the commission. The first thing that stands out to me upon looking over the agenda given for this meeting is that no specific rules are listed on the agenda as topics for discussion in this group. Since there are no outlined rules specifically that will be addressed this afternoon, I will form my statements around what I've noticed in the duration of time I have watched the county commission meetings, both online and in person. The first thing I believe this body should address is the proper usage and adherence to the Roberts Rules of Order. Time and time again, I watch as members of the body are allowed to interrupt those who are speaking. Most of the time, the interruption occurs when a member of the body itself has the floor. This is contrary to how parliamentary procedure works. I would like to see the body recommend that the chairman not allow any members to interrupt another when another has the floor. During the most recent meeting, Commissioner Neesmith was interrupted multiple times by several commissioners during the time in which he was recognized by the chairman and had the floor. The proper way to handle such interruptions would be for a point of order to be called and the commissioner who did not have the floor to be told to hold his or her comments until they are recognized to speak. If a member continues to interrupt the speaker, the chairman has the duty to handle the situation in accordance with the rules adopted by the commissioner years prior. This is not only a matter of breaking the rules of the body, but also a matter of respecting one another. For the reference of this committee, the rules concerning decorum and debate can be found in Robert's Rules of Order, Article 7, Sections 42 and 43. The next issue I'd like to see addressed is the problem that surrounds not having a copy of the rules, guidelines, or other regulations adopted by the commission. When I emailed the commissioner requesting a copy of the rules of the commission, I only received a PDF copy of the public comment guidelines, along with being told that the commission follows Robert's rules. This is a problem on several fronts, because not only can I not effectively find the rules adopted by the body, for example, the 10-day rule, the commissioners themselves do not have a reference document when conflict arises during meetings. What I would like to see is the committee recommend that the rules be compiled in their entirety and published online for the public with a hard copy available at the courthouse and available to the commission during the meetings. This could be arranged either chronologically or specific sections of what the rule in question applies to. Having this set of rules available would save lots of time and possibly avoid some conflicts if two different people had different interpretations of what a specific rule actually meant. The final issue I wish to address is the way the agendas are presented. When I look over the agendas, even when items are listed, it would be very helpful to have a connotation below each item showing exactly what the commission intends to do to address that item. If it is a vote, then please put something along the lines that the commission would be voting on X issue to resolve Y. It does not have to be very complex, just a simple explanation to keep the public up to speed on what will be addressed and more clearly than the current format. If this committee would like, I'd be more than happy to provide some examples. Thank you for your time, Elizabeth Brotherton. Okay, if I've got just a few short seconds, so I'd like to see this committee leave 5 minutes to address, for any citizen to address on agenda items. I'd like to see you leave 5 minutes at the end for concerns of the citizens. It's only fair that the taxpayers have the right and the privilege to address and speak out their concerns. I'd like to see you set the rules that citizens have to speak respectfully, but so do the commissioners. I have seen commissioners throw documents across to the people. I have seen commissioners stand and accuse the citizens of being a bitching committee. And I was in that party, and I don't appreciate it. I think my opinion should be counted just as much as anybody else's for the simple facts. I am a citizen of Hamlin County and a taxpayer. The documents that I'm speaking of that were thrown across should have been just given back to the person. It should not have been done that way. Respect is a two-way street, folks, and I would love to see it respected. Thank you for the privilege today, and thank you for not commenting otherwise. I appreciate it.
Do we have anyone else that would like to address the committee?
Darrell Harwood, live on Ella Road, Morristown. I've heard, of course, talk going around about some things considered this committee. One of them is, we don't want 100 people coming up here saying the same thing. Have we ever had that problem? I mean, the most I've ever seen is when they had tried to put in the codes enforcement, and there was, 32 people? That's a far cry from 100. So are we possibly even considering, let's do what government does best and take what isn't broke and fix it till it is? The other thing, I don't know if any of y'all have you ever actually sat down and actually read fully the entire United States Constitution or the Tennessee Constitution? I have. And nowhere in there have I ever seen anything that says the people have the right to come to their government with a grievance, as long as it's not more than 100 of you. The people have the right to come and tell you what's on their mind. And there's no limit on how many of them that can come and do that. And it's not right for anybody to try to say, well, we're going to limit it to this or we're going to limit it to that. We're supposed to be founded on freedom. It's the people that's supposed to be telling the government what to do, not the other way around. And that's just wrong for anything to be considered that would limit the number of people or limit what they can say. And yes, there should be some basic rules of behavior, such as no profanity. But the profanity we've seen in here isn't coming from this side of the rail, it's coming from that side of the rail. There shouldn't be two sets of rules. You know, if it's wrong for one to do it, it's wrong for the other to do it also. And the other should be called out just as soon as the same as anyone over here should. This double standard doesn't cut it. It needs to be enforced fairly and everybody the same. Nobody needs to get in this mindset that, well, we're going to make rules and you're going to abide by them, but we're going to do what we want. It don't work that way. We're the people. We're supposed to tell you what to do, not the other way around. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else that would like to address the committee?
My name is Gwen Holden. I have one thing to say. This is about rules. Well, I don't like when someone brings you all something and you have to vote on it and you haven't even looked at it. You don't even know what it's going to cost. You don't know how much it is going to be or anything. You don't even look at them. You just vote on them. I wouldn't do that. If I didn't know what it was pertaining and how much it was going to cost and if it was going to hurt the taxpayers, I wouldn't vote on something I had never seen. So that's one rule that needs to be changed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to?
Barbara Lockhart, Hibiscus Drive. I think there should be respect on both sides of this. You know, you should have respect for us as well as us having respect for you. There shouldn't be interruptions. You shouldn't be interrupting each other. That's not only against Robert's Rules of Orders, it's downright rude and unchristian-like, and you all are supposed to be Christian men. You're sure not acting like it. Thank you.
My name is Tony Strazulo, 609 East Louise Avenue. I thank you for this opportunity tonight to be able to come up here and speak about the future of our meetings. I think that we need more dialogue, okay? Because not only do we ask questions as the public, but the commissioners ask questions to other commissioners. And it's obvious that the commissioners don't have all the facts. Otherwise, they'd be able to answer the questions that are asked of them. If our own commissioners don't have the answers, we're not going to have the answers. We can't just go and magically open up a book or go online and find this information. So without dialogue back and forth, we as citizens can't relate to why you think things are either a pro or a con, because we don't get that answer. Everybody just I, and wants to vote, I second this, but you really truly don't know what you're voting on. You just know that it's a vote and that it's for somebody's cause. We can't ask questions because most of the times we don't get any kind of documents that says this is what's going to be in the meeting, or you all sometimes don't get information until the last minute dropped on your desk, and then you're expected to come in here and vote on it. We as the citizens, we should have the opportunity to come up here and to talk about that and to get answers. And if you don't have answers that evening, it's because the prior research wasn't done. If you don't have the answers, I don't think the vote should be taken on that night. That means not enough research was done by the committee to move forward on something like that. I also think that if the questions can't be answered, they need to be answered the following meeting, okay? People in the public, they reach out to their commissioners. Some email back, some don't. I haven't emailed any of you. I haven't called any of you. So I don't know the response back from who is responding and who is not. But if you're not responding back to the citizens, you are definitely not here for the people. Even if you don't want to answer it, just acknowledge you got it and somebody else will answer it. And move us to the department that has the answers to the questions. But dialogue is extremely important. We don't have to agree on everything, but we have to know what we're agreeing on. That's a big deal. Also, to limit the amount of people to come up here and to speak, it is a violation of their rights, because I may have something to say along the same lines, but verbiage it just a little bit different than the next person. And sometimes that clicks. That's why we have multiple teachers in our schools and other avenues for kids, because not all kids understand what their teacher's teaching them. It takes sometimes somebody else to explain it in just a little different manner in order to get what they're talking about. And that's what we need to do. We need to be able to come up here, voice our concerns, everybody. And, you know, if you have a large gathering and people want to come up here, you all are here for us. We're not here for you. You listen to what the public has to say. That's a big, big thing, because I started coming here 3 months ago, and I saw more dialogue last week than I have in 3 months. That's not right, because if somebody didn't listen to you, you all would be upset. And we're upset. And just because you have the same dozen people that show up here, meeting after meeting, doesn't mean to just blow us off. That just means that maybe a lot of the other people that are out there, citizens, they understand that you guys don't listen to us, because that's what I get from a lot of people. They're not going to listen anyways. You know? So they don't even bother coming. The sheriff doesn't even want to come to these meetings and talk about the jail because he knows you all aren't going to listen. If our own government, and I've talked to people in our government in the past few months, or past month, and they're also not happy with the things that are being ran, the things that are being passed, and we need to make a change on that. And this is our opportunity right here.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address the committee?
My name is Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I think you've had some very good comments just now that reflect why we're here and why we got to this point. It seems like we want to talk about transparency and openness, and we provide, an opportunity to talk to the commissioners. We have public comments. And then when those public comments come or increase, suddenly we're here, and one item of discussion is, what will we do with public comments? Will we change them? Will we go to something that some other county is doing? Now, before I've heard people say, we're going to do what's best for Hamlin County, we're not trying to copy some other county. There's nothing wrong with your public comments as they are now. Public comments at the beginning, public comments at the end. There's nothing wrong with your public comments at committee meetings. If you'll go back and look at meetings for, say, the past 3 years, I think you'll find there have not been all that many public comments. And if you can't, give 20 minutes of your time, 30 minutes of your time to listen to the public, then it's not the public's problem. You should be glad that people are interested in coming to the meetings. You may not like what they say, and I've been on both sides of it, and I've sat there, but I have looked a person in the eye, and I'm going to say something right now. Bobby Hahn, I appreciate you, There are some commissioners that sit here at meetings and they turn their back on you and they never look around. Bobby always turns his seat around and looks. And I appreciate that. It's those little things when we're talking about respect, and that is very important. But please don't change your public comments. Let's turn the focus on getting people more involved rather than trying to say, we don't really like what you're saying, or this group of people, or whoever it is. Let's listen to those people. As Mr. Curtis said, if you have a lot of people coming up here and a lot of people are concerned about something, maybe you need to look at what you're doing. And I would appreciate it if you would take some time, because that's why we got here. And everybody up here knows it. Commissioners, telling people to be quiet, commissioners throwing papers. I can imagine what would happen if I had taken papers and thrown them across at the commissioners. It is a two-way street. And there needs to be respect. But not just tolerate people, really listen. And when they ask a question, go get the answer. Don't just, thank you for your question. But please do not change your public comments. I think that's why you're getting so much concern about this particular committee and what the commission may do. Listen. You may not like it, you may like it. But listen. And if you do have a lot of people like you did with the Codes Committee, then there's a problem with what you're doing probably, or possibly. I won't say necessarily probably. But be glad the people are here. And please don't try to shut them down or restrict, because the comments don't take that long. It's not that much out of your time. So please, don't change your public comments. Thank you.
Hi, Karen Arwood, 1501 Eller Road. And I don't know, I don't know how this could be. It's just sometimes at either some of the committee meetings or the commission meetings, just the way everything's organized. Being on this side as a visitor, like we're doing now, that we're addressing the committee before any of the old or new business is addressed. But there have been times when you've had special visitors in, like Dr. Perry coming in, talking. We here have no idea what he's going to address the commission about. So ahead of time, we out here cannot address knowledgeably or address at all because we have no idea. And it would sometimes in situations like that to have an opportunity afterwards to be able to address before, then if it's on something that the commission's going to vote on. Well, we have sometimes allotment to address afterwards, but what's the point of us being able to address afterwards because you've already voted on it? I don't know if there's a feasible way to work to do something, but if we can't address, if we don't know what's going on ahead of time to address it, but our time to address something is over and done with, and like if you have Dr. Perry or like Barry Poole, or I remember some of the judges, John Duggar one time in here, is our opportunity's already gone. So, and many times that I've sat here and heard certain things, when you do have a special person come in and address, that after I've heard them, it's like, I'm sitting with questions or ideas or something, and I have no opportunity. So that's all I'm getting at on that. And I wasn't even for this with old business and then items of interest, et cetera. I didn't even know what I could address on tonight to start out with. No idea. So, yeah, we're not against you guys as our commissioners. We want to find a happy medium and everything work well. And it's like Linda said, if a bunch of us do show up on particular items or interests, like the the jail, and then the what's it called, the on the property maintenance, yeah, that's a big deal. And yes, even on that, there are places you drive by that going to work on. His mother passed away and we're trying to get her house ready to sell. There's a place that just keeps adding and adding and adding more stuff, and it's like, that's becoming a problem. But one size doesn't fit all on stuff like that either. But understand, and we just want to find a happy medium and work a bunch of these issues out, because we all got to live here in this county and make things work for everybody that lives here. Well, anyway, thank you. If that made any sense, I don't know. It's one of them days. I'm having a Monday again. But thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the committee? Okay. Now, this one's going to be a little different than most meetings because we do want to, the whole purpose of this meeting was to find out what everyone wanted. We wanted everybody to be able to tell us what you would like to see and what you would not like to see. I do want to first, before we go into the new business, I would like to go into the, what we've done since the last committee. And we've reached out to Steve Thompson, and he has been in contact with us in regard to a way to potentially do a internship for someone to come up with a codification or a more of a compilation of the resolutions that we've had historically. And so we think that we can get help with that, and we can put it all together. This way, it would allow us to go back to 1990, and we could collect all the data from the resolutions that have been done in that time frame. And then someone would have a guide, much like the Morristown Code of Ordinances that Ms. Noe presented to us last meeting. And then we could lay it out and let someone have a copy of that. We could post it on the website, and we could do things that would allow people to take a look at those things and maybe get a refresher before they came and asked their questions. And we could rely on it when we needed to go back and look at those things. So I think that that's probably a good step in the right direction. Now, we've also talked to John Walden, and we've used this IPS internship program before, about 4 years ago. And that is the process that we'll go through, hopefully, to get that intern. Mayor Britton, do you have any idea about how long it'll take before we'll find out if they have someone?
Well, it's a summer internship program, so it would be, their deadline is already passed for students to apply, so it should be in the next 30 to 45 days.
So we hope to have some follow-up on that within the next 30 to 45 days. That'll give us a good document to start with. We've reached out to Charlie Curtis, and he will take a look at what we come up with in our rules. And I think that we will probably title that just the Hamilton County Rules of Procedure. And that'll give us something more to go by there. So that's what we've done since the last meeting. And now, this is really kind of unusual. We wanted to hear from everyone to get an idea of what they would like to see put together as a way for us to communicate and do it collectively in a way that is helpful to both the citizens and the commission. And so instead of being silent at this point, I'll open it back up and see if anyone has any additional remarks that they would like to convey to us before we go into the next step. The next step will be that we will have a meeting on March the 11th, and we'll try to start making some of this come together. So I'll open it up at this point for any additional comments.
My name is Tony Strazullo, 609 East Louise Avenue. You just addressed Mayor Britton, and Mayor Britton spoke without being up to the microphone. So I don't know if the audio that you're recording catches that or not. I don't know if anybody else in here, their audio catches that. So I think that if anybody in the audience is addressed in any way, shape, or form, that they should have to come up here and speak in the microphone. Actually present what they're going to present and not do it from the back of the room. That's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like?
I do. Well, did you get what he said? What he said was, it was a summer internship regarding putting that stuff online, like Linda brought us that day so we could look at. So what he said was that it's a summer internship and that the deadline has passed and we should know something in 30 to 45 days about an intern we can get for this program to try to put that on there. So that's what was said.
I mean, I heard it because I was sitting here.
I understand, but I want to make sure, I mean, if you're going to do that, let's make sure you get it on there because yes, I want everybody to know what was said. So that's what was said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips.
I have a question. You're gonna have rules. Why can't we have paper printed out telling us what those rules are gonna be and what y'all are gonna do without being surprised, like we're always surprised? I don't like getting surprises. I like to know the facts. And we need papers, just like you all do, to see what y'all are gonna do. How are we gonna know what you're gonna do if we don't have it written out where we can see it in writing? I mean, just like tonight, you give us this little piece of paper with just new business, old business, and then adjourned. Well, whoopee-doo. That don't tell me nothing, except got old business and new business. It don't tell me about your business. I want to know about the county's business. I want to know what kind of rules you all are going to make and what you're going to do. And if you're going to follow any of the Marshtown rules, some of them are good. Marshtown needs help too, the city, especially with some of their code enforcements. We just got a new code enforcement person, and I don't see anything that he does. So, I want to know the rules. I want to see them in writing. Just like when I ask you for anything. Will you please put that in writing? Well, that's what I want. Would you please put that in writing so I can see what kind of rules you all are going to put down? Thank you. I would appreciate that. You just don't know how much I would appreciate that.
And I want to reiterate that what I was saying is that is the purpose of this meeting. That's the purpose of this committee in general. We are trying to put something together that can be put in writing, and you can have a copy of it. We also would like to have that published on our website so that everyone can have access to it. And then I did want to make another revision. The remark that you made in regard to me saying that it would be like Morristown's ordinances, I'm just saying that the framework would be similar to that. That's not to suggest that theirs is right or wrong, and ours is not relevant to theirs. Ours is independent, and we'll try to, yes. Okay.
Randy,
Yes, sir.
Has everybody got a copy of this items to consider on local rules? If y'all got that, David, everybody got those?
I think it's in here.
Well, there's some of them rules, and it just, one of them just popped up. How is somebody recognized to speak? But do you raise your hand? Do you bust out like we did in the last meeting? If we've got Robert's Rules of Order, are we gonna go by the Robert's Rules of Order? If David Perky's got the floor, he's got 10 minutes to speak. I get in trouble if I interrupt him. Everybody else gets in trouble if they interrupt him. And at our last meeting, I was interrupted 3 times. And I know the words you use, point of order. I knew that when I started. I just wanted to see how far we would go before the chairman called point of order for people interrupted. But these rules right here, I think, is the place where you can get started. They've got some, I don't know. That's all I have.
I guess we're doing the hand raising thing today. So, Wayne, do y'all still use those little buttons that you speak, that you push to say that you want to speak? Do you still have those, and then you're called on in the order that you're?
Yeah, we do that in commission meetings.
So was this in a committee meeting that you were interrupted multiple times?
Yeah, it was a commission meeting.
Commission or committee?
Commission. I would speak, I had permission to speak.
Uh-huh.
And I got interrupted, but it does no good to have a set of rules if you don't go by them.
Well,
It's like if you coach a Little League ball team, they've got a rule book. You don't get to pick out what rules you like and what rules you don't. You go by the whole rule book. And I think that's what we've got to do here if you're going to be transparent.
Well, I guess that was my point. If you have that speaking button, that we always had, then you know when you're supposed to speak. I mean, each person is supposed to have their time
Mm-hmm.
to speak.
In this particular situation, he didn't have the speaker button available with the equipment that we have. He asked prior permission to speak at the end during general comments. And so he was given that permission to do so.
So he still had permission to speak?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Hahn?
Not trying to stir a stink or upset anyone. And I've listened to these fine folks back here, and I agree with what they said 100%. And they even said it needs to go on both sides of the fence, and I totally agree with that. We're sitting here right now in a situation, and we've had to deal with this for the last several months. I was reading over the Hamilton County Commission guidelines for the meetings, and number 2 talks about slander. I hear public comments come up here. One said we were lining their pockets with kickbacks from the jail, saying we're thieves. We've all heard different aspects, and I know they get passionate, they get angry, they say things, but it's slanderous. It's you're telling us that we're not doing our jobs, we're gutless, just different aspects of that. And then we get down to the whole issue of signs and whatnot. We had a big to-do over that. We had one speaker come out with a sign around her neck. Okay. That was, thought we handled that one pretty well, but nobody liked to do that. Then we have the idea of videotaping. Clearly in the rules, it's rule number 5, says we have an area where the public is to go for videotaping. That's completely ignored, completely fought against, with the idea that, when we get to the point where we're doing this ourselves, then we'll go back there. Still hasn't happened. And then, you know, the mayor for the last, I don't know, 3, 4 months, whatever, 5 months, has had a mandatory mask order. And yet we have people that come to meetings and they completely ignore that. They don't feel comfortable wearing a mask, they don't see the point in it, whatever. You know, I think I can drive 60 miles an hour down West AJ safely. But the law says, the rule says I can't do that. So we have this constant pointing, people pointing fingers at us. And I'll be the first to admit, we've gotten a little bit riled up a couple of times and we said some things we shouldn't have said. We acted in a way we shouldn't have acted. But it goes on the other side of the fence too. So we need to clean up everything. If we're going to do this right, then we need to clean up both sides. Otherwise, it's anarchy. It's chaos. It's untenable. And so I think we need that the folks on the other side of the fence, and I hate to use that, but on the other side of the fence, there's rules for them. There's rules for us. And I think it needs to be enforced. People need to know when they come in, this is the way I've got to act. Can we do a better job of conveying their information? Absolutely. And I felt like that from the very beginning. We need to move towards getting the information out. I think if we had more information, be less conflict. But these rules we talk about, I think it's incumbent upon us to lead, and I think it's the public's responsibility to follow those rules. And because if they're not going to follow rules, then how can they point fingers at others about not following rules? So let's just kind of, when we move forward with this, there's going to be some rules on both sides that are going to be put into place and enforced.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. So with the understanding that I heard from the public tonight, you would like for us, Ms. Noe? Sure.
As I had mentioned, yes, there are problems on both sides. But you mentioned slander. Did you ever go back and look and see when your mayor apologized for the lies he said about me, false statements about the Joint Economic Board? That could have been handled so easily by simply going back and looking. In fact, I think he asked Mr. Perky at one point, did they ever change it? No, you never changed it. And yet you invite a man up here, Marshall Ramsey, and he was the most blatant, slanderous attack I have ever seen. And yes, under threat of a lawsuit, he came up here and apologized, as he should. The things that are done on this side are done out of frustration. And yes, it should be respectful both ways. But there's some strong issues here, and sometimes it takes strong language to get the point across. And to beat a dead horse, you had Mr. Shipley violate the Constitution, say you can't, you're talking about a little sign that said $30 million jail or save $30 million. Mm-hmm. If that drives you nuts, just as shirts that said, no to the Taj Mahal jail, mm-hmm. Maybe the problem is with your thin skin.
Could be.
People are upset with this jail, the ones that know. And of course, there are some that don't know, as you've mentioned to me. And there's some that say, whatever you all think. But don't go around saying it's this side or it's that side. That's what got us here. You can shake your head. It's the lack of listening. And I'm hearing it tonight. It's back again. It's their fault. It's their fault. I like this format. Let's talk. And don't shut people down saying, you've had your opportunity. That's like Ms. Arwood said. Things come up during a meeting, and yet you can't speak. You might have something very important to say. You might have something very helpful to say. And it's like, you've had your opportunity, sorry. But sometimes you don't know what's going to be said or who's going to be saying it. So consider letting people talk. And again, don't change your guidelines on public speaking. And I don't know what you're talking about the camera. We've already had that issue, and you all voted to let it go 8 months. It's not like it's not allowed right now. And then we'll see what happens in 8 months. I don't know why you would do that anyway. That rule ought to be changed too. What bothers you about that little camera over there? It's about like that shirt. What drives you nuts about things? Is it simply because you cannot accept open discussion? Thank you.
Can I redress that?
Yes.
Couple of things, I'll be quick.
Okay.
It's not about the size of the camera, it's about the location. It's a rule, okay? It's a rule. You want us to abide by the rules, you abide by. I never said it was on one side or the other. I said both sides were involved, okay?
Yes, amen.
So it's not got anything to do with the camera or the size of the camera. You want us to follow the rules. These are rules. 8 months from now or 2 months from now, it may not be a rule. But folks, right now, it is a rule, and we all agree that we need to follow those rules. The signs, itty bitty sign. I just read back over it. There's nothing in there that says anything about the size. It says placards, signs, banners. So that's what the rule says today. Now, personally, I have no intention of voting to squelch the public. I'll let you know that right now. But at the same time, you want us to do things in a proper professional manner. As I've heard before, it goes both ways.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, one other thing that I would like to bring up is during Mr. Holmes' comments, Mr. Holmes brought up that it is both sides. He did not single out one side or the other. He brought our own shortcomings up that we have, which we have quite a few. And we're working on that. That's what some of this is about, some of it's the other. But when comments were made about his, it was said, we don't listen. I think that goes both ways as well. During his redress of said comments, the same gestures and actions that people complain about commissioners shaking their heads and such was just witnessed by me from people in the audience. If you want it to be a certain way, it has to be that way from inside that door to inside that door, whether you're on that rail or this side of the rail. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think, she spoke up first, but, and second.
Barbara Lockhart, Hibiscus Drive. I wanted to address the mask mandate that Britain has put out. I know a lot of people don't want to wear a mask. That's their prerogative if they don't want to. Some of us, myself included, have medical issues. I don't wear a mask all the time because I can't breathe with one on. I have COPD. A mask makes it very difficult for me to breathe. I do wear one occasionally, but I don't wear one all the time because I like to be able to breathe. Okay.
Thank you. Okay,
He was wanting to go. He was
No,
gonna
go
let
ahead,
him
go ahead.
I don't want to hinder.
Well, this thing, will this go there?
Miss Green.
That's all right. I'll get that.
That's all right.
Now, I appreciate you. I will not do that to you. Hold on.
all right.
It's all right. I'll get
Can you
in the
make-
chair.
come on,
Thank you,
honey.
baby. All right. You addressed our actions. Yes, I'm guilty of shaking my head, but I don't throw nothing at you, sir. I do not. And I am one of the guilty people that wore the shirt in and had to be turned wrong side out, that I was not permitted to come upstairs. Yes, I am. But you need to listen. I don't mean this the wrong way. Yes, rules are there. But that little camera gives old folks, a lot older than I am, and I'm 67, the opportunity to watch these meetings that cannot be here, whether it's health or whether it's otherwise. You have parents that work, that have to pick kids up that cannot make these meetings. I'll congratulate you. You've moved the time back later in the evening, and it should have been done years ago, so I'll tell you up front, I'm proud of you. It wasn't done till you and Scott here, but thank God for you on that account. But you have people that cannot attend this, that little camera gives them the opportunity to know what's going on. Now, I, for one, try my best to be here every time. I didn't make the last meeting because I couldn't move. That's the reason I have this today. It ain't to hinder nobody. It's not to hit nobody. But it is for me to lean on to keep my knee, till my knee heals that I can get around. But folks, I know we have rules in place. And hopefully to God in 22, we will have at least 11 new commissioners that will stand up for the public to be able to video things and it get out across the screen. Everybody should have the right to observe. If I say something or do something I shouldn't be doing it. I should conduct myself in here just like I would in a house of God. Now, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate Miss Nancy's remarks. I sat and watched the one the other night because I couldn't be here. But I am thankful for the video. I am thankful that that one goes on there usually within 24 hours so I can sit and watch it. I am thankful for every bit of it. And I'm thankful for this opportunity, so I'll take the time to thank you because usually I don't get this opportunity, and yes, I do resent it because I feel like all taxpayers should have the right to address their concerns. But we're not trying to cut you down. We are trying to get some of you to do better. But I do. I think you need to be more respectful, but I don't think little bitty things like that right there ought to be a hindrance to anybody. That's just my opinion. But thank you. Miss Nancy, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, addressing some of Ms. Green's concerns, you know, we have voted to tape all the meetings and put them available, you know, just to try to make it good for everybody. When this whole issue of the videotaping came up, I went back and checked YouTube several years. There's videotapes from the back of the room that are evidence that I could hear clearly. I didn't have a problem, you know, with the cameras moving back to the back of the room because I have witnessed videos that were done there. It's not about squelching anything, but it is about order. It's about rules and abiding. So another thing Ms. Green said, I, for one, take it to heart to be available, to answer, to talk to. Miss, I hate that I know this. Social media is terrible. The people that use it in a derogatory way, it's terrible. And I get a lot of people bringing me the info, you know, in other words, one of my things was I'd rather look you in the eye, shake your hand, and talk to you than to try to respond online. That's me. Call me. I'll come to your house. I'll be that person to answer Ms. Green's point of communication, I'll answer your emails. I'll answer your texts. I'll answer your calls. I'll come see you. But, you know, there again, you throw this broad thing out that we're not available, that we're not answering. I can't answer for someone else, but yet I can answer for me. Also, when it comes to public speaking, I don't have a problem with Mr. Hone. I don't have a problem with public speaking. Yet, does it not become counterproductive for the same scripted language? Does it not become counterproductive? That's a question. All I'm saying, we're 14 commissioners that serve this county. You have every right to talk to that commissioner. Now, if they don't answer you and they don't communicate with you, that's between you and them. But I'm saying, you know, you're saying I don't have any reason to squelch public comments. I don't want to do that, but yet I can see that maybe there is a time frame that you put on that where it doesn't become abusive. Let's be constructive, not counterproductive. I just take offense myself as that person. Ms. Noy brought out that he turns around specifically. I have never turned my back on public speaking. I take notes, but you know, to me, Mr. Hone is a good example. But I try to be that as well. And I want to be that person. I don't like intimidation tactics. They don't work with me. I'll shut down, I'll back off. I'd rather discuss and reason with someone rather than be confrontational. I'm not a good fighter. I'm not a good liar. But yet, that's where I stand today. So, for the public, if something comes in and I didn't get my voice heard, not everybody, to Ms. Green's point again, can make it to these meetings. So what do? Email, text, call. I'll come visit you. You know what I'm saying? So to your point, exactly, everybody can't make it here. Thank you.
Thank you for comments. Mr. Cox?
I have one more thing I want to say, and it's a compliment. It's that there's a downfall to it at the end. I want to thank Mr. Shipley for answering my email. It took 2 weeks to video the committee meeting. It took 1 day to put the commission meeting on the videotape on the website. It took 2 weeks to put the committee meeting on the website. So I texted Mr. Shipley and asked him why it took so long for 2 weeks for the committee meeting to be seen on the website when it only took 1 day for the commission meeting to be seen. And he didn't help me, but he got the mayor to help me, which was a good thing. And I appreciate that, Mr. Shipley. And he's not even my county commissioner. And I really appreciate that. But it was an oversight. So since it's being oversights with our videotaping of the meetings, leave Miss Noe's camera alone. She gets it on a whole lot quicker than what they do. Even though it was an oversight, she gets it on quicker than what the county does. So just leave it alone.
We're not going to bother it, Gwen. She gets to do that.
Thank you. That's good.
It's never been a point of order of not allowing.
I think it was just determined where we're going to have the cameras set up. So if everyone can see everything on the meeting, then I think that that's a good outcome. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a word of praise.
Okay. We would love to hear it, Ms. Noe.
All right. It may upset the city.
Do I need to crawl under the table or anything, Linda?
Do what?
Do I need to crawl under the table or anything, or we're going to be okay?
I appreciate very much that you have taken the city's framework, as you say, because that's really what you need is get this right. If you're going to do it right. That's wonderful. So that's kind of praise for the city, but it's praise for you in looking at that. But I'll tell you something else. I go down to the city and I praise you all for taping your meetings. They hate it because then I say, why don't you tape yours, city? But, and I wish you all would talk to city council members and tell them it's okay to tape your meetings. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm an equal opportunity. You need to tape your meetings. I'm an equal opportunity. You need to have a framework. And I'm certainly an equal opportunity. You need to leave your public speaking alone. You need to keep your 10-day rule. You need to keep the open process for hiring professionals like realtors and architects and legal and any other professional. Those are the three big things. And Ms. Phillips would know about all that because she was on commission when those particular items were initially put in place. And there was a reason, and that reason still exists. Thank you.
Mr. Cox, I apologize.
It's all right. I live on 1804 Bolton Ridge. I'm proud of every one of you commission here. You got your own private commission on the jail, everything, yours, met there, you got meeting all, you go by there. And I do believe everybody in here should wear the mask. Cause people, you walk through the door, the deputy checks you, you walk up and you come up here. And poor Mayor out here, you always picking on him all the time. He's doing a fine job, I think. Cause he's trying to do his best, try to please everybody. And plus, you telling everybody you're taking the cut back or you are yo-yo. I meant bring a yo-yo so I could sit here and walk the dog with y'all sometime. Everybody, and Facebooks, you put on Facebook lies and everything you put on there. Then you go to people who works here and tape them on their jobs and everything, then put them down in the dirt too. But I mean, everything on the Facebook is lies and everything. But and then you got signs out here, put them all down here, but you come up here, you love them everything, love them everything. But you go right here at the door and you have a little meeting down here in the parking lot for everything. That's ain't true love, is it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Ms. Harwood?
Oh, Karen Arwood, 1501 Ella Road. Okay. No, just to address a few things. I know Commissioner Hahn, you keep saying, well, as far as the camera goes, that's the rules, that's the rules. Well, that's part of the rules, I think, that you're going over and coming up with. Just because it's a rule now doesn't mean it can't change. Well, right. Okay, but it could change. It does provide a public service. And for over a year, I think roughly a year and a half that I've personally been coming, that has never, ever been in the way. I mean, I've heard where some of the commissioners have said that it blocks the aisles, blocks the exit. Well, I don't know exactly where you're gonna exit, but anyway. And another thing with rules and everything, being a two-way street and all that, okay. But the thing is, to address Commissioner Horner. Doty. Where's Horner? Y'all need to quit sitting. Okay, that's you. All right, I don't recognize you in the mask. There you are. I recognize that face. Anyway. Man, I didn't even recognize your voice. But anyway, thing is, and you're right. Yeah, okay, maybe some of the things on our side and this, that, and the other, but let me point something out, please. And it doesn't excuse anything on our side, okay? And I hate to say our side, but I do feel like we've got almost a wall built between the citizens and the commissioners or Hamlin County government. But I do hold any elected official to a higher standard. Think about that, okay? Elected officials should be, or I would expect, to be held to a higher level of expectations, okay? That doesn't excuse anything on this side, but, and that's the thing, some of the things that I was concerned about trying to cut back, that you don't want a lot of redundancy with a bunch of us coming up here and saying the same thing. But if we don't, say if you just said, okay, somebody's got an issue with X, the first person to raise their hand can come up. But if you limit, how in the world do you even remotely know how many people actually do have an issue with that? You limit the knowledge of how broad that problem is. I mean, and I know that sometimes nights coming in here, when we've got want to address and everything, but you knew, those of you that work full-time jobs, you knew when you ran for this position that you were going to at least be locked in to 2 nights a month, at the very least. If you can't make the time, knowing ahead of time that sometimes that's going to extend, I'm sorry, 2 nights a month, don't be in a hurry and say, I've got to get out of here, I got to go. You knew that was coming up. When it's important to the people that elected you, enough that they've got concerns and they need to speak it. And like I said, if you limit, then you don't know how many people, how broad that concern is. The more people you hear from, the more you should be sitting going, this is not just, okay, COAG that has a problem with it. It's on beyond that. You get a idea, the realm of that problem or the people concerned. I basically run out of time, but that is part of it, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Redirect,
I'm sorry.
redirect.
Yes.
Just to follow up, you know, Karen, that's what I'm saying. We don't want to squelch public comments. When the people are here, we know that. And like, was it Darrell that said, yeah, I think so, 32 people in code enforcement. That was a hot issue we didn't see coming. I'm glad it happened the way it did, okay? And we backed off. And I get it. I heard from people from my district. Guess how? By calls. I heard, hey, they weren't here that night. There was 2 or 3, but I didn't hear from them right there. I heard from them when they called me. That's what I'm getting at. When it becomes a counterproductive meeting and something like that, again, I'm not trying to squelch public speaking. I do not want to do that. But I feel like there is that medium that we can come to a conclusion, as Linda said, our public comments work. That's fine. Let's find a way to embrace that, okay? You know, here's one example. The chairman of the commission can, right at that point, grant more time, if that's what we come to. If we elect, you know, to limit, 40 minutes or whatever. Linda used the term 20 to 30 minutes. Maybe that's all we need. Maybe that's all we need. And, okay, we got that day that we need 45 minutes. The chairman can vote or ask for a vote, or some commissioner from the floor can say, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to extend this time. And we can take a vote right then by simple majority. I'm just saying there's something we can come up with, but yet not to. And again, I'm not trying to be someone that says I don't want to hear from the people. The people are who run the show. I get that. But we have to figure it out. We've got people on both sides. Believe this or not, I've got people on the other side talking to me too. You know, I hear y'all are here. They're not here. But I hear from them. I hear from people in my district that you wouldn't believe. I call some. okay? It isn't like we sit here and not have contact with people. I do. I do. I know you're going to do everything you can to get me out. I don't know what I've done other than support a jail project that I feel is worthy. Okay? I've had issues, I've had studies, I've had numbers that I believe in. I'm not getting my pockets lined, Bobby, believe that. Huh? I'm just saying, folks, you know, there is that happy medium, but I have been browbeat up here. I'm gutless.
Dale, 5074 Cameron Road. I live with Ms. Arna. And if she's getting her pockets lined, she's holding out.
Now, okay. I think Mr. Cox was, and you'll,
I agree with what Chris said. Y'all, I come to both city meetings, I know Miss Noe does too. 3 minutes, you go in there at 6 o'clock, 6:47, you're in your parking lot and driving around and through. And me and her, and maybe one more, go to the city meeting, that's it. And then these talking about the money that you spend here. Go to the city, and I pay city and county taxes. And the city, they bought, building all that stuff down there in Green City down there. They bought the park up there. Nobody didn't want it for 9 to 20 years. Then, but the city had got it. I seen one guy the other day walking his dog up there, and them things up there is street lights. But I don't see nobody in here going to the city fussing about the money they spend there. And your taxes go up there too. Thank you. Thank you, Chris, about your time. Right here, you do get more time. Go ahead, Darryl.
Darryl Harwood, Eller Road. First thing, thank you, Randy. If anybody else had been sitting behind that desk, there never would have been this much dialogue. So I do appreciate the way you're conducting this and at least giving everybody a chance to talk. Second thing, as my wife pointed out, you want to be an elected official, you're held to a higher standard. You want to talk about slander and signs and all that? Well, if somebody's holding a sign that you raise taxes and you did vote to do it, what's wrong with that? When was the last time one of y'all had a severed head of you held up with blood dripping out of it? That happened to President Trump, and he couldn't stop it, and he's the president. So where do y'all think that somebody complaining about your votes or what you do as a public official, that suddenly that's slander? The Supreme Court has ruled that you're not allowed to block people online and all that for being critical of you. So suddenly y'all are more entitled than the Supreme Court? When you want to run for elected office, you kind of expect that criticism. That goes with the job. One good one, just Mr. Stepp, wearing the Burwell. Now, he may or may not. Well, how he got that, we don't know. And there's no law said he can't wear it, but we do feel it's inappropriate because there's a contract with this county, and that company's being paid almost $1 million of our tax money. And it does have a very big appearance of impropriety. It does cause a lot of questions, and that we do raise that issue. It'd be very simple for him to, you know what, that don't look right with me wearing a mask from a company that we're paying and I voted to pay them. So, sorry, and it's a dead issue then. But instead, it's like somebody wants to prove a point. Well, I'll do what I want. It don't have to be a competition. Why are y'all trying to make it one? You know, we're up here because we care about what the heck's going on. It's not because we want to be a thorn in your side. But dadgum, we disagree, and we're going to bring that disagreement out. And y'all, you want to call it slander, trying to give you a hard time? That's not the reason for it. Because you're an elected official. We have the right to protest against what you're doing. and we're going to exercise our rights. Thank you.
Ms. Phillips?
Okay, I have just a couple of, I'm just a citizen. I'm not really anything. I think that everybody here wants better communication. But I think you need to stop with coming up every time and saying the same thing. They've heard it, they understand it. You've heard it when we say it to you, they, not me. I mean, usually, it'll be my mouth be running on social media, though, I just tell you, because I don't have to worry about it. So, I don't understand, like, if you were gonna talk to me, I mean, anybody, not you, but if you know, like I was talking to your wife about horses, it was just a general conversation. Where does the accusatory tones always come in? I mean, I'm just a citizen, but I hear this. I mean, I hear the accusatory tones. Why do we have that? Guys, and Linda knows this, she was elected to commission the same year I was that first time. You don't become public enemy number one as soon as you're elected. You're still that same person. So sometimes if you just say, guys, you know, it'd really be nice if I had an agenda that said something on there so I'd know what you're talking about if you want me to talk about something. Not that commissioner right there did. I mean, why do that? That's been done so many times. It's so old. What happens is people like me who are just citizens, we just stop listening to that because it gets nothing and it does nothing. All it does is it creates more friction. So truly, I think in this meeting, I mean, y'all don't ever, I do sit and listen now about being able to talk to somebody or call somebody, and you need to be able to call your commissioner. I mean, you all are the people that put those commissioners in there, and they need to be available to you. That's just as a citizen, and if I need to go stand behind the podium because this has nothing to do with this committee, I mean, I'll do that. But just, I think, as a citizen, we need to stop being so confrontational. As a commissioner, we need to stop being so confrontational. But stop the accusing. I mean, how many times do you have to say the same thing? It's being taped. People are watching it. We heard you the first time. So let's do positive stuff. You know, let's just do positive stuff. Do we have rules that should be enforced if they're rules? I'm a firm believer in enforcing the rules. If it's a rule, it needs to be enforced or it needs to be removed. It's just that simple. But I do agree that, and I guess I've always agreed, that if you want to know what's fixing to come up on that agenda, you know, your committee meetings are your best place, just to be honest. And I know everybody can't go to a committee meeting, but that's going to be the place that you're going to hear a lot more discussion. There's a lot more information that comes across the table. Do I think when something is laid before you on commission day that you should probably put it back into a meeting? I do, especially if it has to do with money. I mean, I'm a firm believer in the 10-day rule. That'll be this committee to decide if they keep it or not. I'm a firm believer in the 10-day rule. I can't read fast enough for you to lay something before me and me find out what I need to know for me to feel like I've made some kind of good decision. All I'm saying is just this. Stop all the accusing stuff. We've heard it, we know it, we retain it, we're not stupid. So, but let's do something positive. Let's look at trying to make sure that you have information so you can do make it questions or, but your commissioners, guys, your commissioners are your go-to people. You know, you want to know where you find out your information, that's where you need to find it. If you really want to know what's going on, you need to come to the meetings. Those committee meetings, like I said, that's your place. It's a lot of the talking's going to happen. But first, before you do anything else, you need to call your commissioner. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Let me add to that, too. There's a lot of background information on our website before the committee meetings and also at the commission meeting. So, you know, that's where I get most of my information, is from the website. You know, all this information is there, so I would encourage the public to take advantage of that.
And most everything that you will want to see will be on there. And I think it's part of this committee that we want to make sure that it's as in-depth as possible and allows everybody to see it. I think there's been a lot of discussion about how both parties feel. We live in Hamlin County. We live in a great county. We're blessed to be here, and we can all work together, and we should work together. And that's the purpose that I wanted to have this meeting with the public to address, because I want you to feel like you're part of it, because you are. We're just representatives of what your desires are, and we're trying to work with you on those things. So I feel like if we can get that mutual agreement, we'll all be better off.
Thank you, Randy. I'd like to make more of an observation than a speech, I can assure you. First of all, I'd like to commend all of you people for coming in here and expressing your views and letting us know how you feel. We need that. We can't function as a commission or as any other elected group unless we get feedback and suggestions from the public. My biggest concern right now is that we got more people on this side of the fence than y'all do out there. There should be 3 times that many people out here in the audience. You leave us to figure out what to do for y'all, and you don't tell us a darn thing about what you want done, and you're leaving us with a pretty big job to do, which we don't mind doing, and we do the best we can. But that side of the fence needs to be filled up, shoulder to shoulder. Kick those darn barriers out of the way. They don't mean anything anyway. Wear a mask. We need to have more public input so we can do our jobs better. We can't do what you want us to do unless you tell us what you want us to do. So talk to your neighbors. Say, I want to see you sitting in the bench next to me so we can get after that old bald-headed guy up on 2nd North. Otherwise, I'm just going to get out here and tell you what I think is right. And that's what I do. I may not be right, but if I think I'm right, that's what I'm going to tell you. So talk to your friends and your neighbors. Get them out here. Keep us straight. We can't do this by ourselves. We might have been elected to do it by ourselves, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. So help us out. Help us. Help you. Okay? Thank you.
I think Mr. Struz has lifted his hand, then you'll be next, Mr. Cox.
Tony Stradazzulo, 609 East Louise Avenue. So what I've heard for the past 15, 20 minutes is that you all want to take just a little bit of the Constitution and do away with it. The Constitution states that we are allowed to bring our grievances to our government. But we do that. And now you all are sitting over here telling us that we shouldn't be doing it, that you don't like what we have to say. Y'all shouldn't be dealing in feelings. You're a government official. It's already been said you need to be held up to a higher standards. Us as citizens, we have more rights than our government. The government is limited. Therefore, we should be able to be out here doing what the Constitutional talks about. Grievance to our government, media, free speech. I've heard those 3 things tonight mentioned numerous times in about putting a stop to them or putting restriction on them. Now, I've never came up here and pointed fingers to anybody because I don't know any of you all personally. I just see what I see. But the remark of that we come in here with no masks, your mayor right there has been in my face numerous times in the past month, never wearing a mask, ever. He's wrong. I have numerous government employees not wearing a mask. Numerous. But you want us to come in here and do what our government is not doing? No, we should be held at a little lower standard than our government. If our government isn't doing what their rules, their law wants to be, then we shouldn't have to follow it either. Okay? That's a big deal. You all seem that the rules should not be equal, but you want them to be equal. But you're saying that we shouldn't come up here and grieve. You say that the cameras need to be limited. I've never heard not one person in this audience complain about a camera. And they all have to look forward to that camera. You all are over here. The camera's not making noises. The camera is not right up in your face. If we want to zoom in, we have to zoom in. But if you're going to make people sit in the back of the building in order to be able to film, what happens if I pass out cameras to every person as they walk through the door? What happens then? What do? Everybody's in the back? And if you're going to put somebody in the back with a camera, you can't have them just sit in the regular seat. You have to at least allow them up there so that they can have a better view. Okay? The Constitution does not restrict the media. The Constitution gives the media great power. And just because somebody might sit there with a camera and put it on YouTube or on Facebook, that's media. If we want to go ahead and print something out and hand it out, that's even more of a media. And we can do that. But we can't be restricted on how we gain that or where in the room we're going to do that without having other stipulations. I don't have a problem with being in the back, not one bit. But I want to be up there so that I can see. I don't want heads in my face. Okay? Because other people have to see what I'm showing. And you have a different audience that views Linda Noe's stuff. You have a different audience that goes on and actually views what the government puts on their website. So to have 3 or 4 or 5 different means isn't a bad thing, because we need to get the word out. And if this is getting the word out, then that's what it is. Camera doesn't lie. When we post something, it's in its entirety. We don't cut and edit and change things and verbiage and this and that. It's in its entirety. It's all there. There's no lies. If you all act the way you act, that's what gets portrayed. We can't change the way you all act when the camera is there. And if you all act that way while the camera is there and present, how do you all act when the camera is not there? Now, who's my commissioner? You? Can we talk later?
Yes.
Thank you.
As long as you have the camera going when the interaction starts, and it's not like some of the videos I've seen where there's already been pre-interaction before you start showing the video.
Oh, then you're not watching mine, because mine's always running. I walked in a little late.
Mr. Cox?
Okay. Darryl always pick on Jim there. I got one. I'm afraid to wire it in here because I'll be afraid somebody talk about me all the time. They was free. They would passed out everybody in the office. I know some more people's got them in here, but we're too afraid to wire the mass in here. And they got the contract of the city too to build the big center down there too. So I mean, they're advertising. We're just advertising free advertising for them. But they didn't pay us to wire the mass. They just give them to us. And I know 5, 6 people was here when they passed them out. And they passed them out, and the rest of them left, so we got the mask. But I'm too afraid to wear them out. And the camera, I did see one of your camera on the Brenton. You said, give me my driving license. And he told you to take both cameras off, and you didn't. You didn't go by the bylaws, because you said, give me my driving license.
You're not supposed to be addressing me, sir. Address them.
Well, I'm sorry, but he was talking about the camera. Sorry.
I told you 50% halfway.
Thank you for your comments, sir. All right, Mr. Hahn.
In my profession as a teacher, we're always warned against bird walking. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. We've bird walked here. I brought up some things that had nothing to do with what's being discussed. You know, the only thing I brought up the camera about, or the slander, or the mask, or any of the other things, was a simple point. These are rules that are in place. If they veto the rule in 2 months, do away with it, that's fine. I don't have heartburn with that. But my point is, and always has been, you make rules. And I think everybody's kind of echoed it. You make rules, you're supposed to go by them.
Yes.
So we make a rule, and we don't want to go by it. Okay? So tonight we have 2 cameras that are not where the rules suggest. And that was my point. It's not the camera, it's not the size of the camera, the placard, the size of the placard. The rules are saying you cannot do this. And the mayor's mandate for the mask, I think it's a good mandate. I don't like it, but we do it. These are just things that are in place, rules. Okay, and if I'm driving home tonight and I'm driving 50 miles an hour down AJ and a car passes me going 80, that does not give me the right to speed up and drive 80. So that's all I'm saying is, my point is, it's the rules. It's not what's breaking the rules or whatever. It's that we got rules in place, and that's what this committee's about, and that's what we're trying to wade through here.
Yes.
So let's keep our eye on the ball.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the commission, and I mentioned this last time, has several ways of receiving information. If you're an elected official in the executive branch or the legislative branch, not necessarily the judicial branch, because judges don't like to talk to you about cases, as Ms. Noe knows. But you have different ways to receive information. To Mr. Ward's point, you can receive it by email, text, phone call, grocery store, social media, all kinds of ways. One of the ways is at the meeting. We all have consensus on that. So it's my understanding that the purpose of this committee is to come up with a level playing field. And, Mr. Chairman, I need to say for the record again, no one has given me any directions when asked to serve on this committee. No one gave me directions. Nobody gave me ideas. And nobody gave me mandates. I can honestly say that to any of you. Some of the things that are being mentioned, that the impression that the committee is for, those things are foreign to me. I've not heard those discussed, either behind the scenes or otherwise. Tonight has been a good public hearing. And I think I can say this, there may be somebody come to the podium and disagree, but I think everyone in the room tonight would agree that everyone's been heard. So there's a consensus there. Now, how do you translate that consensus to an orderly fashion in the meetings? I have the rules in front of me that were adopted in 2015, the rules that Commissioner Hone are referring to. And obviously a lot of thought went into that. It would appear to me that some of them are not being followed, but that's foreign to me too because I hadn't been here. But I would hope that this committee, over a period of time, Commissioner Cutshaw mentioned we're not in a hurry. So over a period of time, we could come up with a consensus of how the exchange of information would occur in a professional setting under Robert's Rules of Order. Very simply that. I know there are attorneys in the room, Ms. Noe, there may be others. You have courtroom decorum. That's expected. This is not a courtroom. I don't mean to compare it in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But it is a place where decisions are made and votes are taken. And the commission has to have input with what they're about to consider. They have to have that. These are weighty decisions, big decisions as elected officials. But I would submit to you that the more orderly fashion that they receive it in, the more orderly fashion that they will process it and not turn off to it. And there will be times that your position is not the one that comes out with 8 votes. That's just the way it is. I was county executive and county mayor here for almost 16 years. I didn't win everything that I wanted.
but I tried to win most of the time. But there were many, many times that I did not get 8 votes. You just got to go back down and start working on something else. So I would hope that you feel like you've been heard tonight in a public hearing, which is what this is. Seems to me that you have been. And, you know, I know these commissioners. I know each one of them. I've known some of them a long time. They are not mean people. They are representative of the public. No different. It's like all the criticism of police officers. Where do police officers come from? They come from the public. You know, they don't come from some magic location. They're representative of the public. So I would hope that we're able to come to consensus before this is over, Mr. Chairman, and that everyone would at least feel like they had a level playing field. Certainly, that's my goal. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Mr. Perky. Okay. Thank everyone for their investment of time and for speaking your words. We will take all this into consideration as the next part of this process. We will gather back on March the 11th at 6 p.m. And then we will begin to kind of comb through. I would like for all the commissioners to read through all the suggested samples that we have sent. And then together, we'll start trying to work on what we have read that are good samples. We will consider everything that has been spoken tonight, and that way I think we can get to a consensus of something that we can all live with. And Mayor Perky, David Perky, I appreciate those words from a standpoint of we all know that we need to work together, and we can do that. And I hope that this committee will focus on doing just that and will come out better at the end. Then we will have a meeting on March the 25th at 6 o'clock p.m. That's all I have. We have March 11th and March 25th. So please put those down in your calendars, March 11th and March 25th. That's all we have. Thank you. We're adjourned.